Greetings and welcome all to the Saco City Council meeting for Monday, October 5th, 2020. Call this meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. Let the record show that all the councilors are present, including the city administrator. And then I would ask all of you to join us in allegiance. If all of eyes to city administrators, that's where the flag is. I pledge allegiance to the of the United States of America, republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, and just. Thank you, everybody. With to item 4, week's agenda is general section. Let everybody know that the Saco School Board scheduled for October 21st. This is to take place at the September meeting that onto the agendas so we can start the process of getting ready for the next budget cycle. So with that, we will be joining them for this first one and their Wednesday, the 21st school board meeting. So, the other thing I would like to make everyone aware of is that yesterday kicked off the annual Fire Prevention Week with the theme of Serve Up Fire Safety in the Kitchen. According to the National Fire Prevention Association, or NFPA, cooking is the leading cause of home fires and home fire injuries in the United States. Almost half, 44%, of reported home fires started in the kitchen. 2/3, 66%, of home cooking fires start with the ignition of food or other cooking materials. The leading cause of fires in the kitchen is unattended cooking. Remember to stay in the kitchen and remain aware when you're using the stovetop. If you are using the oven, check it regularly and stay in your home. Other important actions: keeping a lid nearby to carefully slide over the top of a pan should it ignite, keeping any combustibles such as oven mitts, towels, and utensils away from the stove, and prevent burns by creating a kid-free zone of at least 3 feet around the stove in areas where hot food and drink is prepared or carried. So thank you very much for that. We are now up to item 5, committee correspondence from council. Are there any committee correspondence from council? Councilor McPhail.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to let everyone know that in September, we had our first kickoff meeting for the newly formed Coastal Resiliency Committee. We were joined by the Wastewater Resource Department and members of the EPA, and we are working on getting our goals. Looking forward to starting for our next meeting and getting all of that going. And also the Dyer Library book sale is still ongoing until further notice. That is going to run during regular business hours of the library. And there are still plenty of books, hardcovers, children's, antique books, DVDs, CDs available. So no appointments necessary at this time. You can just stop by during regular business hours and stock up on some holiday reading. And also the museum store is also open with lots of seasonal gifts now as well. And their hours are posted on the Facebook page for the Dyer Library. So it's definitely worth a stop in to get some early holiday shopping and check out the beautiful displays.
Thank you, Councilor McPhail. Councilor Minthorn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Little update from transit. The new turnpike coaches will be arriving any day now. They will be retrofitted with the proper electronics and communications gear, and we're on the road serving our Zoom customers in the early November. We will just started back using the electronic fare system in the last few days. You can use a smartphone or a smart card, pay your fares that way on the bus to eliminate the cash if at all possible. And then thirdly, we're going to be installing the electric charging stations, it looks like behind the Saco Transportation Center, for the electric buses that'll be arriving toward the end of next calendar year. The footprint probably.
Correspondence to council. Okay, seeing none. Moving on to item 6 of the agenda, public comment. City Administrator Canrath, do we have any public comment tonight?
Time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And at this time, Councilor Purdy, you did indicate that you received some public comment.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Okay, I just want to make sure that all the councilors remember that the document that we were put out early on when we started via Zoom meetings directed all public comment to go to the city administrator prior to the meeting. So I just want to make sure we get back to doing that and have all the public comment, if they're not going to be here to provide their public comment, that they go forward through the city administrator in the future. But go ahead, Councilor Purdy.
This is an email from Nicole Tift in support of the SMS Saco Valley Land Trust land purchase. It says, my name is Nicole Tift and I live on Rocky Hill Road in Saco and own a woodland that starts at the headwaters of the Nonsuch River. Volunteer with Saco Valley Land Trust. We've been working with Andrew Firsch on the potential sale of land on the Nonsuch with the Sebago 7, and which abuts 2 parcels that the land trust already owns. We are working on a public walking trail crossing our properties and hopefully expanding the trail with this new purchase. Stretch of the Nonsuch close to the Scarborough line with cascading water and a still meandering stream in that area. Scarborough Land Trust also on their side of the line, and it has been a long-term dream of mine to make a walking trail along the Nonsuch linking these 3 properties, and perhaps beginning off my Nonsuch headwaters off Rocky Hill Road. If there is any possibility for the city of Saco to help, it would be of great benefit to the walkers and nature lovers of Saco. I also have another one. That's signed Nicole Tift, the co-chair of the Saco Valley Land Trust. I also have another one from Susan, chair of the Saco Valley Land Trust. She didn't ask it to be read into the record, but I will forward it to the city administrator to add in.
Thank you, Councilor Purdy. Any further? Okay, now we will move on to the public comment from the public. Again, we just ask that you state your name and address for the record, and please keep the comments to 3 minutes. If you're using the Zoom platform, it is *9 to unmute if you have a cellular phone. Other than that, you please use the raise hand feature of the Zoom platform and you'll be unmuted to speak to the council. Again, for those on a telephone, *9. Up first, we have Melissa Field. Melissa, you should be able to speak. Please go ahead and unmute and provide your comments to the council.
Mayor Doyle, this is Andrew there. It's indicating to me that her Zoom is too old, so we could promote her to speak.
Yeah, I just promoted her.
Okay.
Her to a panelist. Melissa, go ahead and unmute and provide your comments to the council. Again, please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, I'm Melissa Field, and I live at 160 Bradley Street in Saco. And I'm also a member of the Conservation Commission. And I'm here just to support the use of the Open Space Fund to support the students at the Saco Middle School for their purchase of the land that was mentioned earlier. And the reason why the Conservation Commission has pledged some money to support this as well, but we were hoping that the Open Space Fund would also be available for this. I think their goal is to reach $70,000, and they're not there yet. And I think one of the reasons why we wanted to really promote this is that we wanted young people to understand and learn how conservation happens in a small town as ours, and hoping that if they're successful and they're able to put together a nice trail, they'll learn about the whole process of conservation and maybe encourage them in the future to perhaps even become part of the Conservation Commission, which would be a wonderful thing. So anyway, so that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Up next, we have Zach Arsenal. Zach, you've been unmuted to speak to the council. Please provide your name and address for the record.
So, hi, I am Zachary Arsenal. I live on 166 McKinney Road. So first off, I just want to thank you for passing the climate emergency declaration. It means a lot to me and probably a lot of other people. It's just great to see people caring about that sort of stuff, and yeah, thank you for that. So I've actually been working on this project for quite a while now, and it is a thing that is very important to me. I think one, because we need to start saving places where certain plant and animal species can thrive without the effects of humans, and because we do affect a lot of nature, and I think we should try and save some spaces for them to thrive. Also, I think nature is beautiful. We should be able to see it as it is, and I think the adding of a trail in that area would be great. Also, I think that just actually, I think I'm done. So thank you. I hope you can help this. So thank you.
Thank you, Zach. Up next, we have Abigail Lizett. Been allowed to speak. An address for the record to council.
Everyone hear me all right?
Can hear you.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm Abigail Lazat. I'm a student at SMS and a resident of Dayton on Goodwin Mills Road. I'm here to support the conservation project as well. I'm in 8th grade and I've been working on this project heavily for about a year now. Through this project, I have been able to learn so much from outstanding members in the Saco community. I realized that even just starting this project and form bonds, but it's still just the beginning. From this project, I can see great potential within Saco. The trails could help so many people, animals, and our planet. At this point, I've dedicated so much of myself to this conservation project, and this boost from the Open Space Fund will truly change everything for the better. I believe with all my heart in this project, and I simply can't imagine a world without it being playing a role in it. And I would also like to thank you guys again for passing the climate emergency, and this would be a great step in proving your dedication to our natural planet as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Abigail. Up next, we have Pam Tift. Pam, you've been unmuted to speak to the council. Please state your name and address for the record and provide your comments.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Actually, it's not Pam Tift, it's Nickel Tift.
Hi, Nick, thank you.
Thank you, Jim Purdy, for reading my letter. And I would like to add that for me, I've lived on Rocky Hill Road since 1991, and purchased the land across the street, which actually I have a tractor trail. I harvest some timber and firewood, and it goes down to the headwater swamps of the Nonsuch, and I've strategized about how we could possibly make a trail along this wonderful. It's in a area where it's not really houses, and it's quite unspoiled. There's a magnificent marsh on it that's totally hidden from everybody. And there's a snowmobile trail that goes across it in the wintertime. But also Scarborough has got about 5 or 6 pieces along the Nonsuch. So the grand scheme would be to link all of these properties either with trail easements or actual ownership, and put something together that the Scarborough, Saco, surrounding community could make use of. And unfortunately, our land trust is not heavily endowed with a lot of money, and we are actually approached by these owners probably 10 years ago to purchase this property, and we didn't have any money then, and we didn't have enough money now. And Andrew approached us with this desire of his group to purchase a piece of conservation land, and this popped up in my mind, and they were all very enthusiastic about it for good reason. We did a site walk, and Andrew was quite excited about it, and the owners are actually very hospitable as well. So, but the rub is the money at this point. We've put some grants together. We've put some commitments together, but we're well short of the amount of money we need. So I don't know, it's a grand scheme of mine. I'm 71 years old. I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but it's been a 30-year desire of mine to have something like this. So I'm quite excited about it personally.
Thank you very much, Nick.
Yeah, thank you for your consideration. And I did send it to Brian, but my letter, I don't know if you got it or not, but I did send it to you. I'm a little bit tech. My wife is helping me with this Zoom thing. So.
We're all learning, Nick. We're all learning in this this crazy pandemic. So thank you very much.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens later on in the meeting.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay.
If there are any other public comment, please use the raised hand feature of the Zoom platform, and you'll be unmuted to speak to the council. Again, for those using the phone, please use *9. Next up is Heather Lehman Kenyon. You've been allowed to speak. Please go ahead and unmute and then provide your comments to the council, and remember to state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Thank you for taking my comment. My name is Heather Lehman Kenyon. I live at 186 Payne Road in Scarborough. I am commenting in support of the conservation land that the Saco Middle School students are attempting to acquire. I wanted to offer my comments in a little bit of a different avenue. I'm an environmental law student at Maine Law, and I could inundate you with a a lot of data on the benefits surrounding conservation initiatives, but I wanted to offer a little bit of a different perspective. We can, of course, look at this in a vacuum and how this is going to affect this land area, now and in the near future. But I wanted to bring up a study that was recently published by the Society for Research and Child Development, and it focused specifically on young adult civic engagement. And so if we really look at what these young people are doing and compare it with the benefits that this study came out with, I think that we would be well advised to support our students in this project by preparing these youth to feel agency over their own circumstances. I mean, we set them up to write a whole new narrative. It builds community, it fulfills social needs, it changes policies, and ensures a healthy democracy. So I just wanted to encourage the council to, yes, of course, look at the benefits environmentally, but also to look at the benefits socially for the Saco community. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Up next, we have Becky A. Becky, you've been allowed to speak. Go ahead and unmute, and please provide your comments to the council. And remember, 3 minutes, and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Becky Anderson. I appreciate you allowing me to speak this evening. I am a teacher at Saco Middle School, and I have had the privilege of working with the students who have worked so tirelessly on the project to conserve land. I just want to add that a vote to contribute or to promise a contribution from the Open Space Fund tonight would open up other grant and money-raising opportunities for these students. So while you may look at the amount they've raised so far, in addition to the amount asked for tonight, there are other things in place that a contribution promised from the town would allow for the students to further pursue. And I just ask that you be mindful of that, as I know our economy is not in a great place right now, and there's some fear around that. But a little bit from you will go a long way in the end. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Any further public comment? Again, if you're using a computer or a tablet, please use a raise hand feature of the Zoom platform. And if you're calling in via phone, please go ahead and hit *9. Last call for public comment. Okay, moving on from public comment. We are now up to item 7 of the agenda. There are no minutes to approve. So we're now at item 8, the consent agenda. We have 2 items. Item B, massage therapist license application for Jill Dennison. And then item B, application for solid waste permit, Casella doing business as Pine Tree Waste Services and BBI Waste Industries. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion's been made by Councilor Minthorn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor McPhail. Any discussion? Any amendments? Seeing no. Councilor seeking recognition. Roll call vote on the consent agenda. Councilor Archer?
Aye.
Councilor Purdy?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor McPhail?
Yes.
Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 on the consent agenda. Thank you. Moving on to item 9, which is the action items. We have item A, extended outdoor retail and restaurant operations, which was a COVID-19 temporary policy. I think we have that. Councilor Purdy.
Yes. On June 1st, 2020, the council approved an outdoor retail and restaurant operations policy to help businesses through the COVID-19 pandemic. The policy was set to expire on November 1st, 2020. Local businesses may benefit from 1 additional month of outdoor operations. This proposal extends the temporary policy through December 1st, 2020. This policy is intended to allow restaurants and retailers in Saco to expand their operations outdoors during the COVID-19 pandemic. This will help businesses to remain open and serve the public safely and in accordance with the social distancing requirements and other federal, state, and local requirements. Businesses who take advantage of these temporary changes must follow all items required as part of the state's applicable COVID-19 prevention checklist in order to safeguard public health and continue to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Be it ordered that the City Council extends the outdoor retail and restaurant operations COVID-19 temporary policy as outlined in the Economic Development Specialist memo dated May 28th, 2020. I move to approve the order.
Second.
Okay, item was motion by Councilor Purdy, second by Councilor Copeland. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
City Administrator Canrath.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could just cut in first, just 2 things I wanted to add to that. Number 1, I just want to say our Public Works Department is supportive of this. Director Fox has said that we're totally fine to keep the Jersey barriers in place through the month of November. Obviously, once we get there's going to be more interest in removing those in winter weather. So Public Works is fully in support of this. And second, I just wanted to add that with the 30-day extension, we don't envision businesses have to go and seek the necessary permits to participate in this. We would just be extending this by 30 days, and those permits would stay in place. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, City Administrator Canrath. Councilor Archer.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm obviously for pushing this another month, serving on the chamber and things like that. It's something we need to do to support our businesses. And this is more of a request, a proactive request, is I do have a concern that when we start to get cold, we're going to have those portable heaters out on the road. And I'm not an expert in the fire regulations and things like that, but I do think that some of these fire heaters that are on our sidewalks will be potentially an issue. And I just wanted to be proactive and let's see if we can troubleshoot that now before we start having issues in the future. As we know, the cold is coming, the winter is coming.
Thank you, Councilor Archer. Councilor Johnston.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm along the same lines as Councilor Archer. My concerns are, again, I said this last fall, spring, summer, whenever it was, we approved this before, about ADA compliance and the ability for pedestrians to get along or through the sidewalk. I've seen it myself, and I've spoken to several, those with mobility issues that have expressed that there's been times where they can't. I'm not going to name the particular businesses, but it's definitely occurring. And so my concern is as we add the potential for snow, which, I mean, just 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I remember a storm in November where it dumped 5+ inches. The concern is a removal of that snow and still ensuring that we have that compliance, or that 3 feet, which is the federal law with ADA compliance. So I guess my question would be whether or not Public Works is going to prioritize the downtown for snow removal to ensure that happens. And if not, I guess I would ask that there's a provision put in place that would disallow the use of the sidewalk until the city removes that snow and creates that 3 feet of clearance. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Johnston. Any further discussion on this? City Administrator Canrath, did you understand Councilor Johnston's request?
Yeah, and I can discuss that with Public Works. And back to Councilor Archer's point also, we can certainly discuss with the fire department on monitoring that situation. But yes, 2 good points and both taken. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no other comments, roll call vote. Councilor Archer?
Aye.
Councilor Purdy?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor McPhail?
Yes.
Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. We are now up to item B, the Saco Middle School land purchase, and that is Councilor Copeland.
I'm scrolling. I'll be there in a second. Okay, here we go. The Saco Parks and Recreation Department and their advisory committee believe in the importance of conserving land for future generation and supports the Saco Middle School students' wish to purchase land in Saco. However, there are concerns with the city's donation being allocated from the open space impact fee account. The open space impact fee account was established to purchase open space for city use, development of new city parks and trails, and rehabilitation of current parks and trails. The Saco Parks and Recreation Department has identified many projects currently in stages of development with plans to use funds from the open space impact fee account as a match to federal grant funding. Allowing the public money from this account reduces the chances of our projects becoming a reality. There's an exhibit from Parks and Rec Director Ryan Summer. Would you like me to read that in, Mr. Mayor?
We haven't normally read in the exhibits, but it is in the packet. And
all right, I'll read it. To the Saco, this is from Ryan Summer, Director of the Saco Parks and Recreation Department. To the Saco City Council. On September 21st, 2020, the Saco Middle School Sebago team asked the city for a donation of $35,000 out of the city's open space impact fee account. The Saco Parks and Rec Department and members of the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee believe that it is important to conserve land for future generations and supports this component of the school's request. However, there are concerns relating to the donation being allocated from the open space impact fee that I would like to share with you today. This account was established to purchase open space for city use, development of new city parks and trails, and rehabilitation of current parks and trails. The Saco Parks and Recreation Department has identified many projects currently in stages of development with plans to use funds from the open space impact fee account as a match to applications for federal grant funding. Allowing the public to use money from this account reduces the chances of our projects becoming a reality. In addition, there is concern that this money will be used to help purchase land to then be donated to a nonprofit organization. This opens the account for the future in a manner I believe it was not developed for, i.e. projects by outside public and nonprofit groups. Again, I believe that it is important for the city to conserve land for our future generation. The parcel of land identified in this project is located on a private road with no current parking available for people to enjoy. So it is important to consider this aspect of the site for future use. As a municipality, Saco has over 640 acres of land that the city currently owns. Our department maintains over 160 acres of land and trails, with more land being donated every year. It is a recommendation of the Parks and Rec Department that if the council wishes to donate towards the purchase of the land, the donation of funds to the Saco Valley Land Trust and the Saco Middle School Sebago team should come from the general fund and not from the open space impact fee account. This aligns with current ways that the general fund is used to support other non-municipal entities such as the Dyer Library and Saco Main Street. I appreciate your time and I'm happy to answer any additional questions. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Ryan Summer. All right, and the recommendation, staff recommends that if contribute city funds to land, that those funds general fund account. Further, staff recommends the city matches 50% of the funds raised by the Saco Middle School to be paid out only after Saco Middle School's 50% has been raised. Be it ordered that the city council authorize the payment of 50% or $35,000 to $70,000 of the funds needed for the Saco Middle School to purchase conservation land to be paid once Saco Middle School has raised their half of the $70,000 or $35,000. I move to approve this order.
Motion's been made by Councilor Copeland. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Minthorn. Just so everyone's clear, there was a snafu in the creation of the agenda item here, that this is this would be a budget amendment and it requires a 3-meeting process.
Yep.
So again, I would just like to ask that Councilor Copeland amend the motion to include will be set for our next agenda, which will be on the 19th.
That I move to include that this be set for moving the process forward and having the first October 19th.
This is the first.
Be the first
Public
reading,
hearing.
public hearing on October 19th.
Public hearing.
The amendment.
Mr. Minthorn?
Okay, so the motion, is there any discussion on the amendment to change the Councilor?
Clarity. Motion does count this is coming. It's going to be the talking about the open space fund, or are we talking about the? Thank you.
City Administrator confirmed that the recommendation from staff comes out of the general fund. Can you confirm that the suggested motion is out of the general fund?
Right, staff's recommendation, Director, as you just heard, it's not open space impact.
So with that, we have an amendment to change the motion to include the public hearing on October 19th, Monday, October 19th. Any discussion on the amendment, rather? Discussion on the amendment only, the in a public hearing on the 19th. Amendment only. Council Archer. Councilor Gunn.
Yes.
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 Council.
Yes.
Yes, but I hope that we amend it to include the appropriate account.
Thank you. Okay, so now we have amended the motion to include the public hearing for 1019. Back to the main motion. I'm going to have Director Summer come up and provide some comments. Director Summer, I'm promoting you to a panelist. You should be coming on here momentarily. Welcome, Director Summer, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for giving me the time to talk, and I appreciate it. So the amendment and the conversations, there is one other account that I want you guys to consider if this is something that the council so chooses to move forward, which I think is a great idea. Again, I believe in conservation, or I really wouldn't be in this position or this job that I have. So I believe back in 2015, the city had designated some money to what was called the open space bond account, which was set for the city to authorize to issue general limited general obligations or securities in the name of the city of Saco in an aggregate to exceed, right now we have $68,000 in that. For a portion of the cost to design and construct improvements for pedestrians / cyclist trails in the city of Saco and to acquire any real estate or interest in the estates related thereto. So again, I want to protect the open space impact account because again, we have many projects that we're looking to utilize that for. But this account is really coming to the close of the open space bond account's coming to a close, and really the $35,000, if the council so chooses, probably would be better coming at bond account, which will eventually close that account out. It just kind of cleans it up. It makes it simple. It doesn't come out of the general fund. You know, we're using some of this money to finish off the boardwalk down on Front Street or the Riverwalk, but there'll be about $35,000 in this account if the council so to utilize this account instead of the general fund for the or matching grant towards the Saco Middle School land purchase.
Thank you, Director Summer. Just in case there are any follow-up questions.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. You have a question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So it's two parts. The first, who's the owner, and the second one is what is the value of the land? We'll go with assessed value of the land that's being 8 acres, I believe.
City Administrator Canrath, do we have the assessed value?
No, I don't have the assessed value. Ryan, did Andrew first provide you any information on assessed value of that particular parcel?
No, but see, I have not. I haven't looked at the tax roll. You know, I wouldn't want to put a number on that. It'd be something I would probably have a conversation with Mr. Destradens, Director Destradens, to see what he thought the assessment was on that piece of property.
Okay, so this would then go to Brian. Is at the last council meeting, I did ask, and I haven't received. I don't next time this comes, but I would not be willing to push forward this. I would not be willing to push this forward without that number. Is not how I typically operate. So I'm just looking for the owner
value
and the assessed value, and then I think us counselors can determine what the market value is. But I at least want something of what the city record says this property is worth. And again, I understand market value is different, but all I'm asking for is objective data from the assessor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Archer.
Thank you. You know, I was looking through the budget earlier today, and I too was thinking the same thing as Director Summers as far as the open space bond. However, my recollection of it is that bond was put in place in the mid-2000s for the purchase of open space. Specifically, I believe the city purchased Horton Woods, the Prentice property, the Perkins property, and several others. So while that may be an option, I think we probably should be checking with bond counsel to find out if we can actually use those funds to purchase property that's not going to be held in the city's hands. So I guess that's my first, someone should probably check with finance on that. And the other, and I meant to ask last week, but I forgot, which was why we have on this. Like, I'd like to be able to, move forward and with the students, but I feel like this kind of has been a rushed process. To Councilor Archer's point, he had questions last week that have gone unanswered that are pertinent. And yet here we are again with this on the agenda. And I guess I would like that. Like, what is the deadline? Why is that such, set in stone? And honestly, what is the date that this needs to be purchased by?
I believe the debt at the Saco Middle School team and Andrew Fesh, it wasn't something that was placed. That's his deadline I believe. He had bigger projects and he had hoped to raise the money on his own. But again, it's not something that the city, obviously, we're kind of coming in the back end being asked to help to donate the money to finish off the project. So it's something I think more than if he was on, but I don't know if he's on.
I believe his date is like December 4th.
I guess I would ask for why that deadline. Is there another purchaser? It would appear from what I've went and looked at that it's largely unbuildable land. So, I guess there could be another purchaser, but I don't understand why, there's a deadline and why we couldn't, put our collective heads together and try to figure this out more in a pragmatic manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Johnston. Councilor Minthorn.
It's my understanding that whatever agreement is in place expires on December 4th and with the landowner. Don't know how hard and fast that date is, but that was my understanding from the conversations I've heard that was the case. In conversations I've had with a couple of you, my thought was, let's go ahead. We can move forward tonight and try to get these answers. And after we do the public hearing on the 19th, we don't have to we could set the date out a few more weeks and have time to dot the I's and cross the T's and make sure that we're going in the right direction before we get to their cutoff of December 4th.
Thank you, Councilor Minthorn. Any further discussion? Any further questions for Director Summer? Councilor Johnston?
The question I'd have is, if we get to that point of donating or purchasing, is there any, appetite for Parks and Recs to actually own this land and not, public money to fund a nonprofit purchase?
Being the location and the size of only 8 acres, you're still going to have to team up with the Saco Valley Land Trust to build the trail system to connect it. It's about connectivity, so it makes sense. Either if we own it or if the Saco Valley Land Trust. Obviously, the one thing, if the city owns it, you keep control. You can build you can ensure that the parking lot will be built out there. You can ensure that the trail system gets developed and so forth. But you're not really going to build a whole lot of trail system on an 8-acre parcel. So you're going to have to team up with both entities or the Saco Valley Land Trust to get into a partnership so you can at least use their land for the trail system. But again, you're able to at least ensure the parking lot that cars can park there and people can at least get out and not be on Watson Mill Road and so forth.
Thank you, Director Summer. Any further questions? Okay, on the main motion, roll call vote. Councilor Archer?
Aye.
Councilor Purdy?
Yes.
Counselor Gunn,
Looks like he's frozen. No. Joe, give us a thumbs
Can
up.
you hear
or a
me?
thumb down.
we can hear you, Joe.
Can you, anyone? All right. Are we on the main motion?
Main motion, sir, to you.
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Copeland,
Yes.
Counselor Minthorn,
Yes.
Counselor McPhail,
Yes.
and Counselor Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. We'll have it for a public hearing on October 19th. With
Mr.
that,
Mayor,
we
if
are
I
up.
can ask a question.
Director Summer.
Councilor Archer, if you can repeat your questions again so I can ensure that I give you the answers that you're looking for.
We are looking for the assessed value of the property, which should come from assessing. And then the second part of that was Council Archer?
Yes, it was, who is the landowner? Who is
Who's
the
the landowner?
selling person, party?
And you want the assessed value on the 8 acres, not on the 10 acres and just the 8 acres that is looking to be bought, correct?
The assessed value of what is being considered for purchase.
Okay, very good.
Okay, moving on. Director Summer, thank you for joining us and thank you for all your help in clearing up some of those questions.
Thank you, and I'll get you those answers.
Thank you. We are now to item. And with that, we have a update to the city vehicles policy. City Administrator Canrath.
Did you want to have the item commentary read first, Mr. Mayor, or do you want me to give a brief overview of what's happening?
Just a brief overview of what's happening, please.
Okay, so we have in the employee handbook a section on vehicle use that we've updated and expanded. The highlights of it are it now does not allow personal use of any city vehicles. No non-city personnel or passengers are to be authorized in city vehicles unless there's express authorization from a department head or myself. It restricts certain personnel the ability to take home vehicles and only allows take-home vehicles in the departments of public safety, public works, and city administration. And it further clarifies definitions, including city business, personal use, and moving violations. So it really tightens up the policy quite a bit. It adds a lot of structure, and I think provides a lot more guidance on what's allowed and what isn't allowed. So that's the highlight of it. Quickly, Emily Roy, our communications director, who worked very closely with me on getting this together. So thank you, Emily, for your work on this.
Thank you, City Administrator Canrath. Thank you, Communications Director Roy. With that, Council, you'll be seeing this in an upcoming meeting on the 19th. But prior to bringing it forward, just wanted to have it in the agenda as new business first to one, see if you have any questions, comments, or considerations to include or any amendments you'd like to see. And then again, those will be incorporated into a first reading update on the 19th. Okay. Seeing no questions on the vehicle use policy, let's move forward. We have an agenda item B under new business. We have the tax write-off for fiscal year 2020. And I believe we'll have a quick presentation from Finance Director Salas.
Good evening, everyone. I apologize. All my virtual backgrounds have disappeared, so I'm getting a little bit of a view into my house. All right, so we have a couple of items. I try and do the write-offs hand in hand with each other once a year. We're a little bit behind. Typically, tax write-offs are something addressed in the spring, but obviously, with everything going on in the global pandemic, as well as staffing challenges that we face on the finance side, it seemed prudent to put this item off until the fall. The first item is tax write-offs, or rather it's miscellaneous accounts receivable write-offs. So I apologize, the title's a little bit off, but the supporting detail. First is miscellaneous accounts receivables. These are relatively small amounts. I think at most municipalities, they would sort of fall below the threshold of something the finance director might have discretion to write off based on whether or not they are collectible. But we don't have a formal policy for write-offs at this point in time, so I am bringing them forward to council. All of these are quite old. They date back to 2004. The second item is personal property write-offs. The last couple of years, we've sort of circled back and taken a tack at these. Personal property is assessed against businesses. And so and in this particular case, as in the last couple of years, the particular business against which the personal property was levied has gone out of business. So that's why we're recommending that this amount be written off of the books. I guess before I move on to the property foreclosures, are there any questions on the miscellaneous accounts receivable and personal property write-offs?
Welcome, Director Salas, and thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you for the presentation on the miscellaneous accounts receivable write-offs. And I noticed in your commentary, you said that we don't have a policy for dealing with these. If your department wants to take a stab with the city administrator's approval to develop a policy and bring it forward to council for consideration, I think that would be well utilized in the future years. But with that, I think Councilor Archer has his hand up. Councilor Archer.
Yes, and thank you for presenting this as you do every year. It's not as much as we've had in the past to have to write off, which I like because that means we're caught up for the most part. Out of all these, I don't know how many there are, but there is one that I do have a concern with, and that's the walk-in clinic. It's just the price amount. I don't think we should be writing that one off specifically. You do have one that says $1,150, but I see that's too old to collect, so you've provided a reason. The only one that I have concern with is the walk-in clinic for the fire alarms. I see that you did try to defend, provide justification, but if it's their if it's their cleaning company, then they should be going after that cleaning company for that money. We shouldn't be taking a hit because they're not going after their own. It looks like tenants, their tenants, and the cleaning company. So I do not agree with the proposal for $350 when they owe $2,250. They're operating in our community as we speak. They're still using our services. And for that specific one only, I'd like that one to be taken off this list in the future. Everything else is well written, and I understand why they need to be written off. So that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Archer. Councilor Johnston.
Thank you. Councilor Archer keyed right in on where I was going. Again, from the little synopsis here, it appears as though it's a case of it wasn't me, which I can understand. But at the same time, I believe there's an appeal process in the city code for the false alarms. So my question is, did they ever appeal to the appropriate, whether it was the fire department or the police department, that process? Because, you know, it's been years and now all of a sudden we're saying, oh, well, I don't want to pay it because it wasn't me. So I'm in line with Councilor Archer and not agreeing to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Johnston. Councilor Minthorn.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. As some of you may or may not know, my wife used to run the walk-in clinics about a year ago till about 6 months ago. And I can honestly tell you the number of phone calls we got at this house when the alarm was going off at the walk-in clinic, it was rarely cleaning crews and rarely other tenants. It was their own staff that were setting them off. So I think it's easy for leadership to point fingers, but the fact of the matter is they're on the hook. And I agree with Councilor Archer and Councilor Johnston's sentiments on this one.
Thank you, Councilor Minthorn. Okay. Any other comments on the miscellaneous accounts receivable write-offs? Seeing no further discussion, Finance Director Salas, will you continue on to the disposition of foreclosed property, please?
Certainly. Do we need to take a formal vote on the SMHC write-off, or should I simply strike it from the motion?
This will come before the council on the 19th, and if you want to present it with it in there, we can have a vote on that night to amend it, or if you want to present it without it, I think there's consensus to do that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next item, okay, this is the disposition of foreclosed properties. So every year I have to compliment Denise Pendleton, the city's tax collector. She works incredibly hard with our taxpayers. She gets this list lower and lower every year, does a lot of really close work with some of our citizens to get them over the finish line. This list is especially short because of the extended period for paying taxes through the summer. We were able to get a number of taxpayers over the line in the last couple of months. There really are only two items to discuss. The first would be 24 Pine Haven Street. There are significant taxes owed. We've worked really hard with this individual to get. The tax collector does feel confident that she can plan trailer. So, I wouldn't say that there's recouping that are owed. So my recommendation is to wait another 6 months and see if we can get this over the finish line. The same would be L'Oreal Plant on 1038 Portland Road. She does own a vehicle with the city, so we do know that we have a couple of touch points with her, and that we might be able to get her over the line the next time she comes in to pay her excise. So that's another reason I'm recommending that we wait 6 months and revisit. The rest of these essentially are either payment plans that are in action where the property owner is making an effort to pay down the balances, or I believe there's 1 or 2 trailers that have since been destroyed and simply have to be written off.
Thank you, Finance Director Salas. Any questions for Director Salas on the disposition of foreclosed properties? Okay, seeing no questions. Moving on to item D, which is Millbrook Business Park Covenants Amendment. Finance Director Salas, thank you for joining us this evening and your presentation. Andrew, can we promote Director Clavette?
Hello.
Welcome, Director Clavette, and thank you for joining us this evening.
My apologies. I had just stepped away temporarily, so the question repeat.
So can you provide us a brief overview of the amendment consideration that's being brought forward to the city council?
Sure, and Jessa Berna is available. This is Jessa's amendment consideration. But just so that you will know, one of our potential tenants for 10 Millbrook Park has initiated a potential purchase for a unit, and looking forward to providing the services, but it would need an amendment. And if Jessa could be promoted to a panelist, she would be the person that would be best to address this issue.
Thank you, Director Clavette. Andrew, can you promote Economic Development Specialist Jessa Berna, please? Welcome and thank you for joining us, Jessa. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Mayor Doyle. I can give an overview of this proposal that went to the Economic Development Commission. Several weeks back, we had a request for a new business to move into one of the commercial condos at 10 Millbrook. The business is called Aquamation Service of Maine. They do basically like green pet cremation business. And the covenants in the Millbrook does explicitly not prohibit dead animals. And there is some more specific language around that. So we have let her know that the process to locate at that location is to have an amendment to the covenances. At their last Economic Development Commission meeting, the commission did vote in favor of amending the deed covenances for the business park to allow this use. However, there were many requests in that language, in other words, ensure that dead animals are not visible, that there is not increased odor, and also that there is a size limit on the animals to ensure that there isn't like creep where it's like this use is okay, but then it leads to similar uses down the line. So in consultation with attorney Tim Murphy, we're bringing it to this board to hear your opinions on whether or not to move forward with the deed covenants for the business park, as this influences not just 10 Millbrook and this property, but all of the landowners in the business park who have already invested in that area of our city.
Thank you, Jessa, for that explanation. Are there any questions for Director Clavette or Specialist Berna? Councilor Johnston.
Is there a purchase and sales agreement already in place?
I believe that the owner is in the process of a purchase and sale agreement. However, they are aware that this is outstanding, and we had advised them not to finalize it until they have final approval from the covenances. So this use is not permitted, and the buyers are aware, and I think have this caveat in their purchase and sale agreement.
Councilor Archer.
Yeah, I guess prima facie, I do have an issue with it initially, but I definitely want more information. So I'd like to see more come from this. Specifically, not that we change covenants, we have done that before. It's more about something that the dumping, disposal, incineration of dead animals, when you're purchasing a property and it says prohibited, I think that holds a little bit more weight than some maybe other uses. So I'd definitely like to see what kind of, I guess, more of on the nuisance level this profession or this business would have to the adjacent properties. So again, I'm interested in learning more about it, because it could be the cleanest process that I just don't know. But again, when you say dumping, disposal, incineration of garbage, sewage, awful dead animals or other refuge. I guess if I was a business that purchased in that area, I kind of would be guessing and hoping that that would stay the same. I just need more information on this. That's in sum.
Yeah, absolutely. I can speak to that a little. The business owner was at the Economic Development Commission, and I'll let Councilor Purdy jump in as well too as the liaison to the EDC. But the Economic Development Commission, I believe, felt quite confident that this specific use would be very low impact and would not emit odors or cause any trouble or concern. It would be basically invisible to the neighbors. However, the concerns raised by the Economic Development Commission are that other similar uses might move in, or there might be an expansion or another kind of use that would then open up the whole business park to these uses, depending on the language that's crafted. So it has to be done very carefully to not open up this area. And again, there is the concern of the existing business owners who bought into the business park with a certain expectation based on the covenants.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessa. Thank you, Councilor Archer. Director Clavette, did you have something to say?
The only additional piece that I would love is the piece that, I mean, clearly, unequivocally, the board had no concern or issue with this particular use. The only position that I would want to present for you to consider is that initiating any kind of consideration for any kind of amendment opens the door to any kind of amendment at any time for any reason. And so there in case lies you as a council to make that decision of how many amendments do we want to consider over the course of these, the lifetime of these covenants. I mean, this may be a legitimate use, a legitimate concern, a legitimate ability to have this use. But if we open an amendment now, it'll be an amendment later, an amendment later. And so I just need you to, as you make this decision, is to consider not the specific use, but the specific consideration of, do we want to amend these covenants when everybody else has joined, whether it's the Spring Hill Road, the Millbrook Park, the Industrial Park, all of these covenants based on the considerations that have been presented. So I just need you to be fully aware that that's an issue. I mean, obviously this is the beginning of a process that you would endorse or not, and whether this comes forward and you folks decide, well, yeah, let's make this amendment. But moving forward, how many of these amendments do you want to consider moving forward? So I just need you to make sure that this decision is not made in a vacuum of this specific use, but basically, do you want to consider amendments, period?
Thank you, Director Clavette. So I had to look up what aquamation is, as I'm not overly familiar with that. I understood aqua and the water piece, but I was not versed on what aquamation is. And aquamation is the natural process known as alkaline hydrolysis. Using water flow temperature and alkalinity, it is more like natural decomposition when compared to any other method, following both the aquamation or cremation process, only the bones remain. That is a definition, quick definition off of the website here. But that is what aquamation means, just in case anybody was wondering. I had to look it up. Councilor Mindor and then Councilor Johnston.
Real quick, basically what it is, it's the same process they use to render animal tissue for making soap, where you treat it with sodium hydroxide in a liquid and it dissolves everything that's not bone, basically. That being said, I would like to see the draft language as we wrestle with this, both as to do we want to amend covenants or not, as well as if we choose to at least have the draft language for the next meeting, so we know what we know. It's 5.2F and it's also 5.3B maybe, or something with respect to the nuisance language that might also need to be, B 5.3B. So if we could see some draft language, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Minthorn. And Councilor Johnston.
Thank you. I think Director Clavette had a great point, and I appreciate her input. I think this is a Pandora's box. I listened to that EDC meeting, and I understand what they do, but the use is prohibited. Are we going to further erode the covenants? I can guarantee you, once you open these, you'll have all sorts of requests coming forward because you set a precedent. My understanding is that this particular use could go elsewhere in Saco. So is that the highest and best use of the business park that public money was used to fund and build out? I have some knowledge that there are surrounding businesses that are opposed to this, so I'm sure we'll be hearing from them too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Johnston. Councilor Minthorn, do you have something further, or is that your hand up from earlier?
Sorry, that's my hand from earlier.
Councilor Archer.
We'll get recovery as well, just because we've had other problems with water-related businesses, just to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And just so you know, we have involved Howard Carter in this conversation, and at a higher level, this doesn't appear to be a high water use, and he didn't have anything that he thought was insurmountable at this point.
Councilor McPhail.
Thank you. Is this a new company or an existing company coming in? Do they have any record from a previous location, or is this an extra location? And do we know how they truck out the disposal waste? What happens to it?
Yeah, so this is a new company. This would be their first location. And my understanding of the business itself is it's sort of like the end result is like cremation. So there'd be some ashes that would be returned to a vet's office and then to a family who lost a pet. However, I think it's important to remember that we're not just talking about this business. If the covenants were to be amended, it would be anything else that might be allowed in moving forward that would be similar to this.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Councilor McPhail. Any further questions? Okay, no further questions on the Millbrook Park Business Park Covenants presentation. Thank you, Director Clavette. Thank you, Economic Development Specialist Barna, for joining us and providing us with that commentary. With that, we are up to item 11 on the agenda, which is the administrative update. City Administrator Cameron.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Starting with some personnel updates, the interview committee for our Building and Codes Department Director met late last week to consider applicants for the position. Following interview and committee deliberations, I will be appointing Deputy Director Dave Toomey to the director's position. We will see the council confirmation on this position at our next meeting on October 19th. I will say Dave brings with him, as you know, many years of experience in the field, as well as a unique familiarity with Saco itself, and he is also a Saco resident. So I think he'll be a great fit for the position. And pending your confirmation, I think we'll be off to a strong start here as our new Director of Building and Codes for the City of Saco. Our Planning and Economic Development Department has also settled on bringing back former City Planner Bob Hamlin to the position. Bob will be staying for at least 12 to 18 months, possibly longer, but he has pledged to at least that amount of time. And again, has 20 plus years of experience with the city and in our community. And at this very busy time will be an asset to the department. So welcome back, Bob Hamlin. Property transfers. Attorneys are working on purchase and sale agreements as well as deed prep for some recent properties we've considered: 90 Temple Street, 2 Marguerite Road, and 351 North Street, and they will be wrapping up over the next few weeks. An update on elections. Early voting in the City Hall auditorium is now happening, so you may come down and vote early at our City Hall auditorium. Voters may also utilize the drop box on the Cutts Avenue side of City Hall. I would like to thank Michelle Hughes, our city clerk, as well as all of their staff and election workers for the incredible job they're doing. You know, with COVID this year, there's been a lot more put onto their plate as far as the setup of the polling place, everything they've had to do to get that ready. And I'd say our first day today was very smooth. We did have quite a few people voting. So thank you very much to Michelle and all of her people and everyone out there making our election possible to democracy overall. So thank you to everyone involved there. I will say the mayor and I have a meeting tomorrow to talk with Thornton Academy about potentially right now using their facility as a polling place for the city. There is quite a bit more parking there. Logistically, it may be a lot easier than using the community center. So we're going to be talking more on that tomorrow. We'll have more updates in the near future, what's happening there. A reminder, my first session of City Administrators Open Office Hours will be held on October 27th from 3 to 5 p.m. in the City Hall Auditorium. All Saco residents and local businesses to attend, to come share their thoughts, views, complaints, concerns, or whatever else they may want to talk about. I'll be there, look forward to it. And again, encourage everyone to stop by. An update on our comprehensive plan. After a competitive RFP process, the city has awarded the contract to Stantec Consulting Services, located in Boston, in the amount of $124,500. This fee will include all labor, travel, materials, printing, media, and other costs required to complete the project per the agreement as outlined in the city's RFP. It's anticipated the Comprehensive Plan 2021 project will take about 18 months to complete. The primary Stantec consultants will be David Dixon, the Vice President, Phil Schaffing, Associate and Senior Planner, who's the Associate and Senior Urban Planner. And they'll be working closely with city staff, Bob Hamlin, our city planner, Denise Colvette, our director of the department, Jessa Berna, who's our economic development specialist, as well as Isabel Exley, who's our associate in the department, as well as other city staff. And finally, a long-range planning committee will be formed to work with the consultants and staff to help with the development of the city's comprehensive plan 2021 and to continue after the 18-month project to serve with the comp plan implementation. And Mayor Doyle will be working to put that committee together and appoint those members. That's all I have. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, City Administrator Canrath. Any questions for the City Administrator? Seeing no questions, thank you very much. Moving on to item 12, council discussion and comment. Any council discussion and comment? No discussion and comment tonight. We are moving on to item 13, which is executive session. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, be it ordered the City Council enter into executive session pursuant to M.R.S.A. Title I, Chapter 13, Subchapter 1, Section 4056E, pending legal matters.
Motion's been made by Councilor Minthorn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor McPhail. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Councilor Archer.
Aye.
Councilor Purdy.
Yes.
Councilor Gunn.
Yes.
Councilor Copeland.
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn.
Yes.
Councilor McPhail.
Yes.
Councilor Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 to enter executive session at 7:55 p.m. Please use the, we will start the executive session at 8 o'clock, so there'll be a 5-minute recess. And just please move over to the Zoom number that was provided to you by City Administrator Canrath this afternoon. Welcome back, everybody. It seems that all counselors are back and seated. I think we're just waiting on City Administrator Cainrath to join us. We'll give him another minute to get back and
The time your Windows computer decides to do an update.
Alan, sounds like you have aliens in the background.
That's Bill's microphone.
You've got the green square around you.
I don't hear any noise over here at all.
I don't know, maybe Brian isn't rejoining us.
He adjourned. Yeah, Al, it is you. It's like a rustling feedback. Every time you mute, it goes away.
Well, the City Administrator can join us when he gets back. Is there a motion to exit executive session?
Be it ordered, the City Council exit executive session pursuant to M.R.S.A. Title I, Chapter 13, Subchapter 1, Section 4056E, pending legal matter.
Motion's been made by Councilor Minthorn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Archer. Any discussion on coming out of executive session? Seeing none, roll call vote. Councilor Archer?
Aye.
Councilor Purdy?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor McPhail?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion to come out of executive session passes 7-0 at 9:47 p.m. Is there a motion from executive session?
Yes, there is, Mr. Mayor. Be it ordered, the City Council hereby authorizes the City Administrator and the city's legal counsel to take all necessary action to settle the pending litigation in Bayview Estates LLC versus City of Saco, Superior Court docket number AP-2020-02, subject to the following terms. Number one, the city, through its code enforcement officer, shall provide a letter to Bayview Estates LLC or its successor in interest, confirming that the subject property may be developed with 2 single-family homes under the current provisions of the zoning ordinance. Number 2, the city shall pay Bayview Estates LLC $17,000 to reimburse the plaintiff's costs of litigation to date. Number 3, in return for the city's action set forth in number 1 and number 2, Bayview Estates LLC shall dismiss its pending appeal.
Motion's been made by Councilor Minthorn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Copeland. In discussion? City Administrator Cainrath, welcome.
Thank you. Sorry, some minor technical difficulties. Thank you,
Had
Andrew.
some technical difficulties getting back.
Thank you, Andrew.
Seeing no discussion, roll call vote on the motion. Council Archer,
I disagree with the terms. No.
Councilor Purdy,
Yes.
Councilor Gunn,
No.
Councilor Copeland,
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn,
Yes.
Councilor McPhail,
Yes.
and Councilor Johnston.
No.
The motion passes 4-3. Any other item from executive session?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
No report on any other item. At this moment, is there a motion to adjourn?
Before we adjourn, I'd like to make a quick shout out. Today in the main biz, we had 2 Saco business owners that made the cover of main biz. I forgot to mention that during council comment. So if you
What were the business owners?
it was Drew at the ecology school, and I'm drawing a blank. I believe it was Brenda. I'm drawing a blank on her name, and her business is Atlantic. Don't remember it. It's not a business I've come across in my travels, but I did post it on my webpage or on my Facebook page for City Council, so people can look there to find it.
Thank you for that. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Is there a second? Second by Councilor Copeland. Any discussion on adjourning? Councilor Archer,
Aye.
Councilor Purdy,
Yes.
Councilor Gunn,
Yes.
Councilor Copeland,
Well, I want to say yes, but I just got on the website of Maine Biz. Well, I can't find it right at the moment. Yes.
Councilor
Yay.
Minthorn,
Yes.
Councilor McPhail,
Yes.
and Councilor Johnston.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn passes 7-0 at 9:51 p.m. I just want to thank you all for a good long night of discussion and so forth. Wish you all and you and your families all be safe and be well. And thank you again for all your hard work. Take care.